I empowered myself, and I think it's down to personalities. My personality is very strong in a way, but also not in another way. So I think the key is to not listen to the noise and just do what you're set out to do.
Wait, how was your performance last night? How did it go?
Absolutely incredible, unbelievable. Every time, it's my third time in Saudi Arabia, and every time I'm blown away. It's just getting better and better, and seeing the excitement, and unbelievable, really.
So speaking about this, and I was thinking about this last night when you messaged me, you were telling me about the show last night. When you started back in the 90s, you were probably one of the first people in Beirut to be throwing and hosting and playing techno parties. And it was very controversial, and you got in a lot of trouble for it. Would you ever have imagined that in 2019, when you first came to Middle East, you would be doing that in Saudi, of all places?
No, I never thought I would be here. No, I never thought I would be a DJ even, because I started as a promoter, and I threw the first parties in the Middle East, really, back then. And yes, I got in a lot of trouble. Being a woman in the Middle East wasn't easy back then, so I kind of broke down all the barriers. And it was great. It was fun. I paved the way for what Lebanon and the Middle East is, I think, at the moment. There isn't one single DJ that hasn't played Beirut, and it kind of rippled all over the Middle East, and that I'm pretty proud of this achievement.
As you should be. I think you look back at something like that, and when you look in hindsight, I think there becomes a clear trajectory to what you did back then, to women playing, whether in Saudi or across the Middle East or on global stages today. And how does that make you feel?
At home. I feel at home because, this is my tribe. So when I got in trouble in Lebanon, I decided to leave, and I only got back in 2016 after all these years. It left a bad taste in my mouth.
So from the 90s all the way to 2016, you were away from home.
Yeah. And then suddenly, the new generation, I guess, woke up to the fact that, hey, this is the person that started it all. I didn't want to come back because, I don't know if you know the details, but I was held with the moral police for throwing a party.
I know all about them.
Yeah. So bringing that culture back then was way ahead of its time, I think. So when I was held and questioned about the parties that I did, I thought to myself, this isn't the place for me, so I better go somewhere else. And 20 years later, I'm here, so it's good.
Here and celebrated for what you do. It's amazing. I mean, it shows that you just never know. You do your thing and you never know. Which, speaking of which, and you talk so much about this idea of being a woman and being an Arab woman, and I'm gonna just stay back in that time period in Beirut for a moment. You knew that you could get in trouble with that, and so often as women, and especially as Arab women, given the way that we are brought up, or certainly our generation, the hardest thing that we do sometimes is to give ourselves permission to do certain things. What was it that in your mind, in your heart, that back then that made you think, oh, I'm not allowed to swear here, that made you think, F it, I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm passionate about this, I'm gonna create these events?
Well, I empowered myself, and I think it's down to personalities. My personality is very strong in a way, but also not in another way. So I think the key is to not listen to the noise and just do what you're set out to do. And yeah, I always used to say, fuck it. I never thought about holding back.
I love you for doing that. I got an email before this talk very clearly and explicitly telling me not to use the F word, which I usually do a lot in talks. So Nicole did it. It wasn't me. It was her fault.
Sorry.
I said this earlier on the chat that I was doing earlier. Usually I'm just so reluctant to base these conversations around gender, but I just think it's so important this time and in this place to have these conversations. And there is a generation of Arab women now who have the opportunity to do things that you certainly would never have dreamt of as possible before, but yet they are still going to have to face those challenges, their traditions, their family, their religion, their society, all of that stuff. What do you say to those women, Nicole?
Well, just own it. Own it. I know that women have to fight twice as hard as men to get to where they want to be. But you just got to keep fighting and stand your ground. And you will overcome the hurdle after a point. And there are a lot of people that are going to support you, so don't be afraid. Because half the world is women, and we are always on their side, so they shouldn't be afraid.
So you leave Beirut. Woo, yeah, absolutely, to fearlessness. So you leave Beirut and you went to New York, correct?
I went to London.
To London first.
And then obviously the world. I was a professional clubber.
I love that.
That was my profession. And yeah, I mean, I discovered house music and techno in New York, and I fell in love, and I was stuck ever since, and this is my passion. And if it wasn't for music, I don't know where I would be, really. So it kind of helped me a lot on an emotional level as well. It was my salvation as such.
Tell me how you felt then, back then. You're far away from home. You are on the other side of the world, and you're alone. How was that for you? How were you feeling? What went on in your mind that made you think in this, as an Arab, as a woman, in this space that is so alien to our culture, I can make it, and I can make my mark?
Well, you know, coming to a continent that you're not used to, but also it was very exciting to discover this whole new world. It was very liberating in many ways. And the challenges were there, obviously, like anything that you start from scratch. And all it takes is perseverance, passion, and obsession in a way. So if you've got these three, no matter how long it's gonna take, you're gonna get there. So I think as long as you have the passion for what you do, you just gotta keep doing it, and one day you're just gonna overcome everything.
Speaking about overcoming many things, is there a particular story or a moment during that period of time that stands out in your mind as specifically challenging or difficult, or a conversation or a situation that really knocked you back that you then had to overcome?
Yes, I mean, also being a woman promoting club nights in London, because I did this for 6 consecutive years. You know, going down to the offices where they're all men, and even police on the side, and security, and promoters, and, you know, the real scuzziness as such. So that was a little bit daunting at first, but hey, you know, it's not like I haven't done it before, and I did it in the hardest, harshest place in the world, which is Lebanon. So that was a little bit weird, but I got used to it, and you earn the respect as and when you keep showing your face and being firm. So that was a little bit weird, but now, you know, I'm at home. It's like part of me. I don't care.
Yeah. Everyone always talks about the relationship with Carl Cox and how that was a big pivotal moment for you. Tell me about the other people that maybe we don't know about that really shaped your career and supported you and helped you in your trajectory.
All the idols that I had in the past, I would say back then, you know, all the global underground stars that were making it at the time. I would say like people like John Digweed, Steve Lawler, Armin van Buuren, and all these guys definitely helped me as well, because they saw this girl trying to infiltrate. So they released my records, played my records, put me on their shows. So it was really a family vibe. And this is our culture at the end of the day. The music subculture, we're all about helping each other and being an amazing community. So in that sense, we are a big tribe that help each other. And this is why we love being in this scene. So
there's something very nostalgic and I think beautiful about the way that these things used to happen, where, you know, as you described yourself as a professional clubber, and so you are a fan and you are there and you are on the scene and you make connections and you build and you create friendships. And it's this long journey and this long trajectory, and you play probably really shitty places at first, and then it grows and the audience grows with you, and it's a real hustle. And I think that trajectory and that hustle really stands you in good stead in terms of longevity and sustainability in your career. How do you feel now about a generation who, if they have a whole bunch of followers on TikTok and one cool track that goes viral, are suddenly a big name and they're being asked to play on big stages? How do you feel about that?
Good for them. I guess, you know, you gotta roll with the times as well. However, I'm not sure if it has longevity as such. You know, you have that 15-minute of fame. The key is to sustain it. If you look at Carl Cox, for example, he's been doing it for 40 years. And he doesn't do anything on TikTok. He doesn't do... So he's a real artist. At the end of the day, you know, real artistry is going to last. You can go to a supermarket and buy a fake Picasso, or you can go to Christie's and get the real Picasso, which is going to have more value at the end of the day. So this is how I see art in general.
If you were coming into the scene now, who would you know, you mentioned these names that were your idols and your heroes back then. Who do you think would be your idols and your heroes in the scene today?
There's a lot out there. There's a lot of talent out there. And, you know, there's too many to mention. Especially women. It's so amazing to see women on the scene now. Because it's a tough job, you know. It's not an easy one. You're always alone. You spend most of your time in hotel rooms and traveling. Being on stage is the easiest of the whole process. And during the week, you're in the studio, you're working hard. It's a very lonely job in a way. So it's great to see all the new kids on the block doing it. But I would love to see also authenticity, not just being stupid on TikTok and
Feel there's a lack of you, you feel there's a lack of authenticity on the scene these days?
I'm sorry.
You feel there's a lack of authenticity?
In general, a little bit. It's kind of taking over with social media.
But you're yourself a very powerful presence across social media.
Yes, yes, but I have 10 years in my, behind me, so I'm just talking about the new kids on the block that they need to be a little bit more grounded, that's all. And at the end of the day, the music speaks for itself, so that's what counts as far as I'm concerned.
Let's talk about the Middle East music scene and the Arab music scene. Tell me where your feelings about that, who you're looking out at, and just in general. I mean, just so much has happened in the last decade in the scene. So much is happening right now at an incredible rate. Just even an event like this, who would have thought? Tell me how you're feeling about the scene, who you're looking at, who you think has got potential.
Actually, I have to say I'm blown away with Saudi Arabia. I'm like, every time I come here, I'm shocked because, first of all, the people are so amazing and so well-mannered and respectful and just incredible to be here. I really think Cosmic Cat is incredible.
I love her. Woo!
She's doing it at the moment. And loads of new guys. I can't remember their names. I played with them a few times. I think they have a lot of talent, and they're so excited. And being excited is what's gonna keep them on the scene, because if you're jaded, it's not gonna work. You have to have the passion. And that is key to success in any field.
So I noticed that about you. Whenever you read interviews, even very recently, and even when you released your last track, there's always this sense of, there's this repeated thing you say where, this guy was my idol, or this person was my hero, and I can't believe that I'm now playing with them, or producing them, or working with them. That's incredible. What keeps that going in you after all these years?
The passion. You should never lose the passion. I'm always excited about going in the studio or playing a new record or discovering a new artist to release on the label, to play their music on my show, all of that. You have to keep reinventing yourself and being motivated, If you're a music lover, you're gonna love anything that you hear. When it's good, in any genre it is, when it's good and you've got that feeling that you get from listening to any record, that this is the passion, this is the excitement, and this is what keeps me going. It's like last night I played all unreleased records almost, and this, you feel it with the people. Because I'm excited about it, and it gets communicated out there, and it goes back to me, and I'm even more excited to do more and more, so, yeah.
So speaking about being a music lover in all sorts of genres, is there a specific track or artist that people would be surprised to know that you love?
This is a tough question. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot out there. And it's good to step outside of the box and play stuff that people don't expect you to play. And that's when magic happens, So if you really enjoy music, no matter what genre it is,
and then magic happens.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Rise with the London Gospel Choir, it's just extraordinary. we've talked a lot about you being an artist and playing, but of course you own a record label. You are a media powerhouse unto yourself. So let's talk about that side of things for a moment. Your show is, I think, broadcast, syndicated to over 80 stations in over 50 countries, over 20 million listeners. There are 20 million people in the world.
It's insane, isn't it?
Isn't that wild?
Next year is going to be 10 years of In the Mood. We're going to be doing loads of special events and also a live broadcast to the world.
Tell us about that.
Probably from Movement in Detroit. We're going to plan something there. I used to do this. The last one we did was live from IMS Ibiza in 2019, and then COVID happened. We know what that, after that point, nothing happened. So coming back to the live broadcasts, doing it from the capital of techno in Detroit, I think will be something very special for everyone, hopefully.
20 million listeners is an incredible mouthpiece to have. Tell me about it's your show, you have this incredible freedom to shape the messages that you want to shape and tell the stories that you want to tell through the music, through the things that you say. Tell me what kind of responsibility you feel having a voice that goes out to 20 million people, and whether you think about the impact that that has when you use it.
Yes, I mean, my personality is very universal, and I try to reach and be relatable to everybody. And in fact, I don't make an effort to do this. I don't even think about it, because this is who I am. So it comes in naturally. And, you know, as long as you're humble, positive, fun, and artistic, what's not to like? And people can relate to this. And I'm just being myself, so I'd like to use my platform for awareness, a lot of awareness. It's like we did raise a massive campaign for FGM, which is female genital mutilation. And we did a massive campaign 3 years ago to raise awareness on that. And we found out that 200 million girls across Africa, West Africa, North Africa, are mutilated. And they start at 6 and 7 years old. This is child abuse. And this has nothing to do with religion, it's cultural. So, yeah, we need to help as much as we can.
I mean, it's such an important topic, and it's such a big topic. We talk a lot about it in our media. Did people tell you, people perhaps that you work with, tell you that maybe this is not the type of topic that you should be taking on?
Funny that you asked this question. A lot of people felt uncomfortable. Yeah, really uncomfortable, which is quite weird. I mean, it is uncomfortable, yes, but more uncomfortable to the girl that is undergoing that
actually,
practice.
Because it's uncomfortable, that's exactly why we should be tackling it, exactly. There's also your work with the Lower Eastside Girls. Tell us about that.
So this is another thing that I'm involved in, the Lower Eastside Girls Club in New York. And this is a fantastic institution run by 2 women. And they raised more than $20 million, bought this entire building, and they have schools for girls and families that are from lower income. So they help them learn music, cooking, drawing, math, everything, science. And I got involved on the music side, so I helped them furnish their radio station, their studios by donating, giving gear, contacted Native Instruments and Pioneer, and we try as much as possible to help build that community. And it's just a pleasure seeing all this come together, and I love it.
Absolutely. Let's talk about events and your event curation and creating these experiences. You were a pioneer in this kind of very early on, narrative and storytelling driven, experiential type of event. People line up to be able to not only be part of your curated stages, but also to be present at these performances. Tell me about your process when you're putting these events together and putting the lineups together.
Recently, I embarked on a big project, an audiovisual experience. And I recorded myself in motion capture. I went to Mexico City, I did that. Then the post-production happened in New York. And the essence behind it was to showcase the feminine power. And I was that character. And we sold out the show, and that was the first one we did back in July. I'm going to develop this concept a little bit more next year by stripping that goddess warrior from all the shackles and going back to the authenticity and empowering womanhood as such, because at the end of the day, we give life and we are the gods, basically. So,
absolutely. Yes. How has the way that you perform, or the way that I'm turning 44 next year, and I think a lot about how I've changed as a woman and how I present myself and how I move through the world, and how much that's changed. How do you feel you have changed in that kind of womanhood, speaking about a kind of this warrior, sci-fi warrior goddess, in the way that, how has it affected the way that you perform? How has it affected the way that you make music, kind of getting older, and I'm assuming becoming more yourself?
I mean, when you get older, you become stronger and you have more self-confidence, and you don't care what other people say, which is incredible. So there's a lot more to do, and there's a lot more to inspire. I'm writing a book. Hopefully, we can delve into more details.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the book. So, is it a book about your life story? Is it fiction? Where is it? What's the...
It's not fiction. It's about all my experiences, and it's got social aspects and political aspects, and obviously my career, and how it all intertwined to get me to who I am today.
Do you have a name for it yet?
I'm still trying to find the name.
Okay.
Maybe Full Circle. Let's see.
But I mean, how apt. Here we are, full circle. So what's your writing process? I'm really interested in that. Like, how much time are you devoted? Are you militant about it? How's that going?
It's been a very interesting experience, because going back in time, it's quite therapeutic and very cathartic in many ways. So yeah, lots of crying and realizing stuff. I don't know, it's like therapy almost, but a very interesting journey. And I'm still writing. It takes time. I'm done with the third chapter so far, so
Say
it's
it's very,
coming.
very therapeutic and very emotional. Is there something that, what was the thing so far in that writing process that you've stopped at and has really kind of choked you up and affected you the most?
I think the childhood experience is what chokes me up the most. So I'm not going to talk about it right now, though.
So you're a DJ, producer, media powerhouse, record label owner. Where is your heart in all of that? Where is your greatest joy in that many, many, many things you do?
They're all my babies, so there isn't one preferred aspect of it. I do enjoy the studio a lot because it's very introvert and you get to pour your heart in a different way, and I love being out there as well, sharing energies and music. And I'm a race car driver, so that's my hobby. Full gas, no brakes.
How did you get into that?
I just love cars. I think it started at 7 years old when we were in the car with my family and the car started to slip down this inclined hill. I was at the back, Mom at the front. She doesn't know how to drive, so I jumped and I pulled the brakes, and I guess that was my first love for cars. I saved them, yeah, basically I saved them.
You're often called one of the hardest working women in this business. Tell me how do you, what's your process? How do you manage it all? How do you juggle it all? How do you keep it all going? I mean, there's so much to do in a day for you.
It's called multitasking. I try to stop sometimes, you gotta stop to regroup. But it's my personality. I'm very active and I can juggle so many things at the same time. I love it. It's a pleasure.
So you're working on your book. What's next for you other than that?
It's the book launching in the Mood 10 years next year and the audiovisual show. These are my main focus for next year, and lots of music, obviously.
Nicole, thank you so much.
Thank you.